What this comes down to is, do you have faith that the advance of science is going to solve a lot of our problems? Now, what is amazing is that all the people who say that they love science so much, they don't seem to have a lot of faith in science.
What do you mean by that?
They don't seem to have a lot of faith in innovation. That is the actual thing that science does, right? It's not just that science can measure the changing temperature over time. Climate models are very often wrong because this is really complicated stuff. It's not just people falsifying data or being willful.
Okay.
This is difficult stuff. But what science is really good at is inventing new, amazing things. Why would you count on human beings suddenly exercising self-control as a species, as opposed to innovating in new and in amazing ways?
Yes, exactly.
That's the thing you should actually be betting on. The left doesn't want to bet on that. Instead, what the left would like to do is generate policy in the here and now that makes people suffer to no apparent end. Because, by the way, all the measures that they are taking right now, Kyoto Protocol, Paris agreements, that ain't going to do diddly squat in the long run when it comes to whatever carbon emissions are being put up into the atmosphere and what is going to stay there. Now, that's not going to stop our idiot elites like Prince Harry from talking about things like climate change. So Prince Harry, for some reason, is now speaking at the UN. I don't know why. He's the son who wasn't good enough to stay in the family. He's the one who married Meghan Markle and then proceeded to alienate himself from the entire royal family and then come to the United States. And I was under the impression we fought a revolution so he didn't have to listen to dolts like Prince Harry. I thought that was the whole point. We didn't want a royal family over here because then you have moron inbred royals explaining to us exactly how the world ought to work while being bossed around by their significantly more vocal spouses.
Damn!
I don't think anybody was particularly interested in this, but the Duke of Sussex decided that he was going to appear at the United Nations. I will say that it was pretty hilarious that no one showed up for the speech. If you actually watch the speech, there's no one in the audience. Even the UN, which like you're being paid to listen to crap speeches.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Even they were like, no, I can't do it, man. I'm going to go get myself a parking ticket I'm never going to pay. Apparently, at this event, he talked a lot about climate change. He highlighted the havoc of it. And he said, how many of us feel battered, helpless in the face of a seemingly endless stream of disasters and devastation? Here is Prince Harry, who, why? Just why? Here he is.
This has been a painful year in a painful decade. We're living through a pandemic that continues to ravage communities in every corner of the globe. Climate change wreaking havoc on our planet, with the most vulnerable suffering most of all. The few weaponizing lies and disinformation at the expense of the many. And from the horrific war in Ukraine to the rolling back of constitutional rights here in the United States, we are witnessing a global assault on democracy and freedom.
Let's go.
The cause of Mandela's life.
He's talking about he's a member of the he's only famous because he's a member of a royal family. Find a better spokesperson, people. He's literally famous because he was born into a family. That is like pure aristocratic hierarchy happening right there. He's literally a member of a monarchic family explaining why democracy is being threatened because of Roe versus Wade being overturned.
What?
And then he's jabbering about the effects of climate change. Like he knows anything about climate change. Prince Harry's the expert. That guy. Oh my goodness. He's just become worse and worse. The Meghan Markle thing. I'm with Piers Morgan. Large-scale mistake for our neighbors across the sea. Him talking about the world being on fire again. He said, these historic weather events are no longer historic. More and more, they are part of our daily lives, and this crisis will only grow worse. Oh, he lives on a giant estate in California.
Oh, my.
With his B-level actress wife, who married into a royal family to become a princess and then whined about it for years on end, claiming that everyone was racist to her after the entire British press talked about how wonderful she was, specifically because of her intersectional identity. These are the people who are deciding policy. It's people like Prince Harry. They're no smarter than Prince Harry. They're no wiser than Prince Harry. They're all just kind of like Prince Harry. They're sort of a hereditary upper class that have decided for everyone else that you don't get the air conditioning.
Yeah, right.
Because the air conditioning, it might contribute to future global warming. You're like, wait, it's really hot outside now. I need the air conditioning today. Like, well, you know what? We can't let you have oil and natural gas because 100 years from now, there might be incremental increase in the temperature that will cause mass migration. They're like, there's mass migration right now because of a giant war happening between Russia and Ukraine that is resulting in widespread devastation, not just in the region, but also globally because of the skyrocketing price of food.
Really, nigga?
That's causing migration crisis now, today. And you have our sort of elite class, the Prince Harry group, who are still making this case. And we're supposed to listen to them. And this sort of scorn drips from the people who believe that it's their job to rule others. There's an op-ed from a woman named Margaret Renkel, a contributing opinion writer, who covers flora, fauna, politics, and culture in the American South, which is a hell of a beat.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
I don't know how you get flora and fauna and politics. Like, oh, wow, the lady who's really good at gardening. Let's get her take on the latest election down south. So she has a piece in the New York Times today titled, "Dear Liberals, Come On Down." And she's not making the case that liberal people should move to Nashville because Nashville's a great place to live. She's making the case that Nashville's a hellhole, so we need to come in and conquer Nashville from the outside.
What?
No, thank you. In fact, we moved our entire company to Nashville to avoid people like you. That was the whole idea. You think people are moving down to Florida, moving down to the American South because they want to hear from the same liberals who they are attempting to escape right now? They just follow people around shouting at them.
Come on now, dog.
They're the hall monitors of planet Earth, these folks. It's like everybody just wants to stay away from them. They're following you around, trying to give you some sort of detention card. It's amazing. So she has an entire piece about how terrible the South is, but you should come down here and help her make it not terrible. Again, she says, red state legislators have perfected the art of voter suppression, which you probably know.
I don't know.
They haven't, by the way. They've also gerrymandered the South's blue cities into political irrelevance, which you may not. Well, I mean, gerrymandering has happened at every level. There has been no net gain for Republicans versus Democrats nationally this year. Come help us grow, says this liberal. The new gerrymandered district lines are based on current data. With your help, we can outwit craven GOP calculations about where residents reliably vote Republican. Once you're here, you can help us registered voters in disenfranchised communities and help drive them to the polls on Election Day.
Gay!
Changing what happens in red states is the surest way to change what happens in Congress. But railing on social media from your blue state won't change a thing down here. If you want to change Joe Manchin's mind about climate change, you'll need to move to West Virginia. Yeah, good luck with this.
Really, nigga?
Good luck. Yeah, the dripping scorn that so many people in this sort of particular coterie of humanity have for the rest of humanity while wanting to rule them is truly, you can't govern the people you hate. You can't govern people you think are idiots. You can't govern people who you treat with utter disdain. Fact. And say to them, we're going to make your life actively worse today in pursuit of some glorious utopia in the future. You can't do that. And then when you fail, claim that people are somehow, it's their fault that you failed.
Is he all right upstairs?
I know what you're thinking. It's time to binge some more Ben Shapiro videos. Well, you are right. You should. But first, like and subscribe. Perfect. I'll see you in the next video.
Meghan.
And that was Meghan's first and last appearance on the balcony.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Meghan actually looked quite uncomfortable, and I can't see her ever wanting to stand on that balcony again because she has to stand at the back and share the limelight, which we know isn't her favourite thing. And I just can't
wait for it.
See him ever coming back without her. He just wouldn't do that. He just wouldn't separate from her for long enough. And I just think she'd probably refuse, even if she was in the UK, which is a sort of hypothetical argument because we know she doesn't come here. Anyway, it's just very sad. It just feels like...
Okay, I'm listening. You have my attention.
That just felt like light years away, don't you think?
Yeah.
That first balcony
There's said to be an open invitation for Harry and Meghan to attend any big royal events that's still available. But I think they realise they're just not wanted. They need to face facts that... Fact! They're just not wanted there. And I don't think any other members of the royal family want to see them. I mean, let's be honest. Their presence would just sour what should be a really joyful celebration of the King's birthday.
And what do you make, Rebecca, of these reports at the weekend that the
Hey, y'all, come look at this.
King wanted to see more of his LA-based grandchildren, Archie and Lilibet, and that he would never be content with just seeing his grandchildren on the odd video call.
I'm a bit sceptical about this story because it's quite difficult for the palace to deny, because if they deny it, it's effectively saying, oh, the king doesn't want to see his grandchildren. Like, damned if they do and damned if they don't. Do I think as a grandfather he would like to see his grandchildren? I mean, what fact grandparent wouldn't? But, you know, I think, as I've said on the programme several times before, you know, while the whole Harry issue pains him, and obviously his grandchildren will be wrapped up in that, he just knows he's got to put it to one side for the moment, because
he's serious old, man.
He's got to focus on his job as head of state and this very serious health battle he's undergoing.
So do you see the king in the short-term future being the one instrumental in making any change in this current estrangement?
Very good question.
It's a good question. I mean, Harry has said, if I can see my father, you know, I will come and see him. But, you know, I think that's quite easy for him to say. And then that kind of, you know, puts the onus back on the king. I mean, you know, to hark back to the event I was at on Tuesday when I was talking to Rod Stewart, you know, Rod Stewart said to me, the king told me he went for cancer treatment this morning, and here he is at this event, you know, working hard, you know, working the room, thanking people for their support. That's what he's juggling at the moment. So I think others need to do the running rather than him.
Yeah, well, Richard, there was an interesting sounding meeting, wasn't there, that took place at Buckingham Palace yesterday that could potentially see more change to the Harry situation.
This is really intriguing. I haven't actually seen any discussion of this at all, but it was noted in the court circular, the official record of events, that King Charles received a briefing from constitutional experts at Buckingham Palace. And you're thinking, what's that about? Well, you know, we found out during the day that the official line was that it was to do with the general election here, and that he wanted advice on all different possibilities. But I do smell a bit of a rat, I'm afraid, that the king...
Not you being cynical.
I'm not being funny. Anyone who has a basic knowledge of politics and royalty knows what happens with elections. And fact. It's very straightforward. King Charles knows all that already. It's genuinely not complicated. So I do wonder if he got them in because he wanted to say, you know, look, while you're here, there's something else I'd quite like to discuss. And he asked them about how... Can I strip Prince Harry of that Councillor of State role? You know, and I think it's something which he wants to address. Look, I don't know what happened. Maybe we'll find out from someone who was there.
But is that a complicated thing? Could he not just do that if he wanted to?
It's a very good question.
It's a question of how he does it. And, you know, there's lots of things he's thinking about at the moment. And I'm sure it's something he'll want to sort out before Prince William becomes king. He doesn't want to leave an unexploded bomb of what to do.
Okay, I'm listening. You have my attention.
About Harry, you know, that needs to be dealt with soon.
And arguably, Prince William would sort of apply more of a machete to the whole situation.
Yeah, it might be more delicate if it was dealt with by his father, by King Charles now, rather than Prince William becoming king and bam, you know, taking action against his brother. He might not want that.
Well, and, you know, speaking of other favourite sons of the royal family, you've written in your newsletter this week about new information about why the king wants Prince Andrew out of Royal Lodge.
This is such an intriguing story. You know, it's something we've discussed before on this programme, is the question of Royal Lodge. That's the very modest-sounding property, you know, a lodge, which is actually a sprawling 30-room mansion in Windsor Great Park, which is home to Prince Andrew and his ex-wife Fergie as well. And there was a big report in the Times recently that was all about... allegedly how the king is sort of desperate to evict his brother from this property. But what wasn't clear, and what remains unclear, is why. You know, why is he so bothered? They were sort of talking vaguely about maybe they'd want to let this property privately, but everything I've been told, that's a non-starter because it's right there, close to the castle. It's very close to the royal chapel as well, and it's somewhere that you can only